Hey everybody, James Phillips and Brian Hale here. It is your DME Southern Orthopedic Prepzone wrap-up show. Brian Hale, we are 1 week away from the playoffs.
That's correct.
And tonight and last night, we found out who all are going to be in the playoffs from our area too.
Yeah, and thanks to a certain team out there, we've got a new tradition.
Yeah, Jasper wins the region championship. Brian Hale's smoking a cigar, and he gave me one too. And it's also to celebrate Alabama and Tennessee as well.
Oh, that's correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to look like all those crazy students at the Alabama game that do not know how to handle a cigar, light a cigar, smoke a cigar. So I'm not going to deal with mine yet. But after we're done, I'll light this puppy up. How about that?
Whatever works for you, man. It's the sweet taste of success, one way or the other.
We'll sit it right there, though. All right, games this week, Brian. Winston County, Summerton Christian. Winston County 46, Summerton Christian 7.
Oh, yeah, not really a big surprise here. I mean, we had to think in all reality, it was going to be tough for Summerton Christian to stop Owens, and he was the main player in all of this. Owens ran for a whole lot of yardage, and, you know, in a couple of years, I think when Summerton Christian can really build really good, prolific depth chart, this would be a lot different, but Summerton Christian, they're just in a mode this year of just trying to get themselves figured out for the future.
That's true. All right, Winston County just way too much rushing attack. Summerton Christian couldn't stop them. They rolled to that win. Summerton didn't score until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It was 46-0, and Summerton scored 7. Oakman, no problem with Greene County. This game was played on Thursday night also. 46-14, Oakman wins, and they will now be the number 3 seed in their region.
That's correct, and you know, really good victory. We know that Greene County is a capable team. You know, they've had good victories this year, but a lot of credit this year to Coach Hall. You know, Oakman, you take some touchdowns here and there. They could be undefeated on this year.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's been a very good, but at the same time, a kind of heartbreaking year. So for Oakman to once again clinch another playoff berth is incredible. They've been clinching playoff berths for almost a complete decade now, just about.
Yeah.
So,
well, and what we'll say here, we're not going to mention who they're playing yet, but we will do that this next week. We're going to have a special show just to unveil the brackets and who's going where. I think that'll be a pretty cool thing.
DME Prepzone on playoffs.
There you go. Well, I think Jeffrey Winborn came up with a name for it. I don't have it here in front of me, but Jeffrey's behind the camera. He could tell us what he came up with, right?
My suggestion was a bracket breakdown.
Bracket breakdown.
I like it.
DME Prepzone BB.
Bracket breakdown.
Bracket breakdown.
I like it. Okay. Meek and Lynn, this was played on, we're talking about it on Friday night. These people will be watching it on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But it was an ugly game. Lynn 35-12. Meek didn't score till the fourth quarter.
That's what I pretty much thought. I mean, I'd looked in on Score Stream at halftime, and it was 28-0. So
Why are you looking in on ScoreStream?
well, mainly
DMEPrepzone.com.
because of the simple fact of the matter is with ScoreStream, I can get it on that phone. A lot of times I can't get internet on that phone.
Oh, yeah. Brian has a phone from 2012. That's the problem. But for everybody who has an updated telephone, DMEPrepzone.com is the best place to go.
It is.
For all your high school scoring needs. Brian, Dora and Russellville at Dora. This was on Thursday night. Russellville 16-6. This is actually closer than I thought it would be.
It's a good performance by Dora. Now, I did hear on the on their show on 101.5 that Brett Elmore and Sebastian Black do. Dora suffered another 2 injuries.
Right.
And that's almost symbolic of their year. But there's one thing that we can say. Despite the injuries in the past couple of games, Dora has been very competitive.
Oh, yeah.
They have not been blown out at all.
This was 7-6 at halftime, and there's a lot of fight in the dogs. You know, I mean, up until the end, they're going to keep fighting, scratching, and clawing. They just don't have the I guess if we're using a dog reference, they don't have a big enough pack this year. I mean, there's just not enough on that roster at this point.
Well, one good thing that we can say, though, there's obviously been a lot of playing time among backups. You see that commonly. Of course, we're seeing it across the street in different ways, But what this does do is a lot of guys have had time out there.
Right.
And they're getting good experience. So this does set up, and of course, in a couple of months, we don't know who's going to go where in reclassification. That really does benefit Dora if we believe that they're going to drop most likely to Class 4A.
Right.
This only benefits them in the end. So, hey, really good, though, really good performance by Dora against a very good Russellville team.
All right, on a Friday night game, Northside, they hosted Curry. Northside wins 34-0. Curry just continues to struggle, and it gets worse and worse each week, it seems.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what can we say? I mean, at this point right now, at Northside, their only loss in the year was corner when they were at full strength.
Right.
And they've been tearing through anybody, so not really a surprise there as the struggles just continue.
When you mentioned corner, the Yellow Jackets 24-8 winners on Friday night over Lawrence County. I missed that game. I thought Lawrence County would win it. Lawrence County looked like they had more skill players. They looked like a better team between the two when I saw them. But corner, man, they are playing good football right now, and they're a team that could maybe cause an upset in that first round of the playoffs.
Well, I'll tell you, these were really bad field conditions. As we were discussing before the broadcast here came on, it was so bad that we really couldn't see the guys on the field. So that was one effect of it. The second effect is just the turnovers by Lawrence County. They had 5 turnovers total in the game. Corner was able to take advantage of those. Corner actually, before the fourth quarter, was leading 24-0.
Right.
That, and as well, I'll tell you, one of the MVPs for corner, the Lawrence County center.
Right.
I mean, they had 6 consecutive bad snaps over the head. They had like negative 90 yards out of that, off of bad snaps. That was 6 consecutive. And corner just came out with a great game plan. Only attempted 3 passes in the game, but their rushing attack was really on, and they were just to take advantage of really, really, really good rushing attack and production from the offensive line. So this is great for corner. They have secured their 4th consecutive playoff berth from a team that, just like last year at midseason, looked like they might be headed down the bad path.
Right.
The Yellow Jackets have bounced back, and they're going to be dangerous.
I think they've won 5 in a row now. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a strong statement there by corner. And next week they have a really interesting game with Oakman. I think that's going to be a fun game to watch.
It would. I mean, this could come down just like last year. It was a 21-20 victory by corner.
Right.
We could see something else like this. This is a really good game to have just before you go into the playoffs.
Right. All right. How about number 10 ranked Addison, 43-0 over Hatton. Addison's getting things right here right before the playoffs. Good sign for the Bulldogs.
They're clicking. They are clicking on full mode right now. Addison's going to be one of those teams that I don't see having really a chance to lose until the 3rd round of the playoffs. By then, we don't know who they'll play.
Right.
But it's going to be another one of those teams that I think is going to go deep.
Hey, here's huge news. Carbon Hill will make the playoffs for the first time in 20 years.
Didn't you cover that last playoff team?
The last playoff run was 1999. They went undefeated in the regular season and then made it to the 3rd round of the playoffs, losing to Deschler. And just an incredible season that year. Davey Reed was the head coach. He's now the principal at Haleville. His son plays for Jasper. But that was a cool season to cover Carbon Hill.
Yeah.
But there hadn't been a whole lot of positives since then. So to make the playoffs, they beat Holt 28-23. Held on because Holt was coming back in that game. But Carbon Hill holds on and wins that game. Big ups to Coach Chavis Williams and the whole Carbon Hill staff and all their players.
Absolutely.
Great job to be able to pick up that win. And now they play Curry this week. Probably another win for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, most likely I would believe so. Momentum, that's something that we've really harped upon the past couple of weeks. Momentum that we have seen from so many of our teams that are going on these runs is clearly a big, big factor in the way that these teams are playing right now. We would tip our hats, but both of us have shiny bald heads underneath, and we don't want to blare out the camera. But, hey, Coach Williams, Bulldogs, congratulations. You guys have definitely earned this playoff spot, and we'll be watching eagerly to see how they end up.
we'll say the cigars are for Carbon Hill as well.
As well,
Making
absolutely.
the playoffs, breaking that streak, awesome. Great
Yeah.
job by Carbon Hill. Jasper hosts Hamilton in what was a region championship game. Number 1 ranked Jasper showed Hamilton were pretenders, it seems to be, the whole
Exposed.
season. So 49-0 Jasper wins. And a big statement by the Vikings to show they're ready for the playoffs. They looked as good in this game as they have in most games this season. Held Hamilton to less than 100 yards total offense, 95 total yards for the Aggies.
Once again, I mean, we said this last week. We've been saying it all this time. Hamilton, without their referees and without all their home field cooking, they weren't going to do it. Actually, when I withdrew last week, I had said instead of 55-0, I would give them 45-0. I was
Right.
4 points off.
Well, and that's what I said, 42-0 the whole time. And so I was just a few points off too.
Mm-hmm.
But Parker Sawyer had a great game. The good thing about Jasper is they're showing new wrinkles every week. You know, J.C. Collins went down. Parker Sawyer showed in this game he can run the ball just as well as most of their running backs.
Dual threat quarterbacks always very hard to prepare for. And the way that they are just across the board, offense, defense, special teams, how they're getting stuff done is really incredible.
Right.
I mean, I have not, at a high school level, I haven't seen play like this at all from any team. And we've seen great teams.
Right, yeah.
We really have. But this is by far the best high school team that we've seen.
Well, we have to mention the Jasper defense. This is the 5th shutout on the season, the 6th time that the defense has not given up an offensive touchdown, and throughout every region game, no one has scored on the first-string defense.
No offensive touchdowns by region opponents.
Right.
On the starting defense. Think about that for a minute. That is incredible.
Oh, yeah, that's almost unheard of.
I mean,
to have
you're-
that many shutouts in a season and to keep every region opponent from scoring on your first team.
That's from prolific
Right.
offenses in this region that really have, and that's just incredible.
Well, and the second string only gave up 1 touchdown. Mm-hmm. So that's to say a lot right there.
It does.
And the second string came in this game and preserved the shutout. I've got to brag for a second.
I know, you've got to.
I've got to brag for
You've
a second.
got to.
Stone Phillips gets in the game. You know, he's only been playing linebacker for however long we've been playing this season. On 1 series, 5 tackles, right? He saves a touchdown on his first tackle. And then the last tackle was a tackle for loss on a 4th and 2 to conserve that shutout. So I got to brag on him for a second. I don't give him any chances. He's on the bench most of the time, where he probably deserves to be, but came in and made some good statement tackles in that game.
I heard that he was also receiving some hearty verbal pats on the back from his teammates as well, across social media and out there on the field as well. So good job by him. Hopefully this won't make his head too big.
You know, I mean, probably. Who else we got here? The final game. The game of the week that you were at. Cordova makes the playoffs. Who would have thought in week 5 that we would have said the Cordova Blue Devils are going to reel off 4 straight wins and clinch a playoff berth? But they do it. They beat Haleville 35-26. You were at that game.
That's another cigar salute. Another one.
Boom.
Yeah, and what a wonderful story this is. I mean, a team that starts 0-5, they have come back and clinched a playoff victory, and they've really done it on a big play on the defense. There's always one of these that come up that really help things. Last night, it was Ashton Nash on a quarterback sack that also forced a fumble. It's picked up by Jordan Perrin that really sealed it off after a huge 14-play drive by the offense for that big clinching score of the game. They have gotten it done, and they have gotten it done in great fashion since the midway part in this season. And a big congratulations. I tell you, that offensive line, when they have been called upon, they've really produced. Jordan Wallace has been out of his mind. I believe he has 778 yards.
Justin Wallace.
Justin Wallace, 778 yards and 14 touchdowns since they started playing against Oakland.
Right.
That's
Man,
incredible.
That guy's running the football. I heard he went out for a few plays in that game. Thought he was banged up there for a couple seconds.
Yeah, and luckily he came back in because he was needed. And big props to both Casey Smith, the quarterback. He had a stellar overall night. Ran the ball well, threw for a touchdown, had a big night passing the ball, almost 200 yards of passing. And then his top target for the past 2 weeks, Adam O'Rear, has had 100 yards of reception.
Right.
Also come up with touchdowns. So they're getting good contributions across the board.
I tell you, the unsung heroes sound like it's the Blue Devils' offensive line.
Absolutely.
They're opening up some holes for these guys.
Yeah, the offensive line was just dominant last night.
Yeah.
I mean, they really paved the way. They gave Casey Smith a lot of time to throw. And just obviously, you can tell by the rushing numbers, they were opening up holes.
Right. All right. Well, hey, that's it for this week. And we do want to mention last week we also brought a little treat for today, right? Oatmeal cream pies.
Now,
And the cigars, that was all to celebrate Alabama beating Tennessee, right?
Mm-hmm. But didn't you make a call, though?
I did. I made a call. I told you guys about it last week. I talked to Saban. He said he'd run the score up as well as he could. Unfortunately, he nor I realized that Tua was going to get hurt.
Well, I mean, as much as I hate that, but this week, does it matter?
I think, honestly,
I told Jeffrey before we came on the air, I said we could go across the street and get Parker Sawyer and put him under center, and they'll still probably win by 21
without a doubt
points.
they'd beat Arkansas with Parker. I'm thinking, though, that you could put Zuzu, my 2-year-old, at quarterback as long as she knows just to hand the ball off and they can beat Arkansas.
Well, I mean, let's look at the fact of the matter here. What doesn't change for Alabama is wide receivers,
Right.
the offensive line,
Right.
Najee Harris, and the running back core. That doesn't change. Now, if this game was against Mississippi State, Kentucky, South Carolina,
No, still wouldn't be a problem.
it wouldn't be a problem, but it definitely wouldn't be
It'd be
no
blowout.
problem.
There'd be no problem. I'm telling you, no problem, even against those teams. Only team I'm worried about, even without Tua, is LSU.
Yeah, well, we're not going to tackle that one.
Because I'm not even going to talk about Auburn. Auburn? Come on.
We're not going to tackle the LSU one for another 2 weeks so
Right.
we can see if Tua is in or not.
And so, but I did bring up Auburn, so let's talk about them for a second. Auburn plays LSU today. Who's going to win that one?
LSU.
Yeah, I think LSU's got it. I think the LSU defense is going to be a lot like the Florida defense was with Bo Nix. He's going to be running for his life. I think it'll be a closer game. I think it'll be within the spread. I think it was like 11.5, 12-point spread. I think, 10 points or less.
I mean, Auburn's got a great defense, but
Right.
there's one thing that they've had, this just consistency on offense.
Right.
I mean, one week they're clicking, the next week they're having problems. I think a lot of it had to do with Whitlow going down with injury. That certainly didn't help it, but it's just, there's just consistent problems with the offense, just stringing things together.
Right.
So I don't know. You know what I'm thinking of doing? I'm thinking about buying a donkey and naming him Joe. So he'd be Joe Burrow.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah.
That'll work. I always wanted a horse, and I wanted it to be white or blonde, and I was going to name it Flair.
A Clydesdale named Flair. That would be great.
Yeah, it would be. That'd be cool. I doubt I get a horse at this point.
Nah. You may not be able to let it get in the house, so, it's...
Anything else this week, Brian? I know Jeffrey wants to go to sleep. He says this might be the first time he gets to go to bed before midnight on a Friday night.
We
so
should
we
do
can
this
keep
every
hanging.
week.
It's only 11 o'clock. We can talk for another hour.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I won't be going to bed for another 4
I
hours.
have heard from the Daily Mountain Eagle universe out there. They love to hear us talk, especially when we get late on a Friday night and we start talking about ridiculous stuff. They love it.
I mean, hey, no problem whatsoever. I don't think that it's going to make Jeffrey too happy.
No, it's not.
But,
Jeffrey
that's just 1/3 of us, though.
right? Yeah. Who's worried about him? We're the ones in front of the camera,
Yeah, I know.
so we could keep it going as long as we want to.
We're sizably older, too.
And sizably larger too.
Precisely. And we're not doing any favors by committing dietary sins, but...
I am
Ooh,
a
wait a minute.
diabetic.
Let me think for a second. Do I care?
Well,
No, I don't.
man, Brian's on a roll tonight. Okay, well, Brian, I think we need to call it and What do you say? We let Jeffrey break it down. See you guys next week.